and we've been doing these for 3 years now. And on the second Tuesday, which means a week from tonight, we'll have a planning session, which is much shorter, but people are open to come to that if they like. We also have a website at philly.netsquared.org that we're trying to get some more usage out of, and we have a Google group that tends to get up and down usage, and sometimes some very active and interesting conversations happen there. These are some of the Net Tuesdays that we've had in past months. I won't go through them in any great detail, but there's a variety of things there. What I do want to point out, though, is that a couple of times in the last year we've done a feature or a format that we've called Crowdsourcing Change, in which we've invited 2 or 3 local nonprofits to come here, describe their website and their web strategy, and then receive focused feedback from the crowd, that is, you guys, about how they might enhance their social web strategy. And we're going to be doing that again next month, and we're very happy about that. We've actually selected 2 of the subjects of that. One is generosity, which is, we'll find out more about that, and the Patch Adams Free Clinic, which is almost about to come out. Now, Dave Rabel, is Dave here? Dave, do you want to say anything about generosity?
Sure, thanks very much. The picture's wrong, but forget I said that. Hi, I'm Dave Rabel. I'm with Generosity Community Alliance, doing business at generosity.org. Could I have a quick show of hands to see how many of you have heard about Generosity? Oh, good. That's good. That's great. I'm here today because we built this site for you. We built this site for people interested in technology to advance social good. So if you're not familiar with Generosity, spelled with a C, Generosity, please check us out. We'll be back next month to talk in more detail. Thank you.
And the other featured guest next month will be the Patch Adams Free Clinic. Paul, what is that?
Patch Adams is the Dr. Clown whose life story was told in the movie starring Robin Williams. We signed a contract with him last year to start the first Patch Adams Free Clinic beyond the Gesundheit Institute in West Virginia. And we're going to build a passive solar earth sheltered structure and provide services in his spirit and style, and it will be a member-owned clinic in a low-income neighborhood to move beyond charity toward ownership to the generosity of the community.
Thank you. So we'll be talking about those next month. What I also want to mention is that we've, for the past several months, especially since we've been having sessions in this building, we've been extending our reach through the internet. So we are now streaming this live, and there's a camera up there, hello folks, and a camera back here. This is being streamed live over the internet. There's 2 addresses there for it. And we're also monitoring a Twitter back channel using the hashtag of PHLNET2. And Michael Schweisheimer back there is monitoring it for the room here and watching for comments or questions or things that might be coming out there from cyberspace and want to actually participate with the activity that's happening here. In addition to the Net Tuesdays, and in addition to the subjects that we talk about, we're really a lot about networking. So there was a sign-in sheet right out in the lobby. If you haven't signed in, please do sign in. What I'll do is I will copy those names down along with the email addresses and send them back out to everyone so you have everyone's contact information. If you leave a business card, we'll scan that and send that back out as well. If you don't have a business card, there's blanks there, and you're welcome to fill in a blank with whatever strikes you at the moment as being your identity. We also have these tags, as you'll notice, which have a place for your name, as well as a question. In this case, we're asking a question about your positive or negative impressions of Google in general. And this is a conversation starter, an ability for an icebreaker, and a way to help to open up conversations to network with other people. Some of you, the first 40 people who walked in the room, have a name tag stuck onto their tag, and that's because we're also having sponsorship from Chevy Volt, and I'll talk about that in a second. As far as housekeeping is concerned, there's food over on the table. Please help yourselves. We don't want to bring anything home. The building is a Platinum LEED certified building. We do composting as well as recycling. The cups are compostable. All the food is compostable. Even the meats and cheeses will go to a place that will compost those responsibly. The bathrooms are outside, right past the elevators on the right. We have Wi-Fi access in the building. Just it's the AFSC network. It's open. You don't have to put in a password. And if you parked in the lot across 15th Street, the front desk can validate your card, and you'll get 20% discount when you leave. Okay, so tonight we're going to do this. As I said, we're going to try and move quickly. We have a lot to cover. We're going to do some quick go-around introductions, let people say who they are, and I'll talk about that in a second. Then we'll have an introduction to Google Plus and demonstration that Ivan and Andrew have prepared. And Ivan's also going to talk about some of the nonprofit and social change implications that have been discovered through various blogs and other sorts of literature and stuff like that. What we're going to do after that is we're going to break into some small groups so we can have a little bit more freedom to be able to focus on some questions. And then we'll come back to the large group, share those insights, and we'll be recording those notes directly on the screen as we go along and then redistributing the notes to everybody. So if there's websites or tools or tips that come out of here, we'll try and make sure they're recorded and distributed to everyone so that everyone has whatever they need or whatever they can get out of this with. It's your responsibility to try and get what you need out of this, and I encourage you to do that, to ask questions and stuff, especially in small groups, and make the best of that time. So the sponsors for tonight are the American Friends Service Committee, which is one of the tenants of this building, which is the Friends Center. The American Friends Service Committee is an international nonprofit that does peace and social justice work around the world. We also have some sponsorship support tonight from Chevy Volt, which is indicated on your name on some of your name tags, and for which we will be taking some pictures so we can prove to them that we actually promoted this. And got our money. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go around really quickly with some self-introductions. And what I'd like people to do as they introduce themselves, and I'd like to pass this along, to try and speak in the mic, please, is to just indicate on here what your level of experience is with Google+. So we have an idea of what's in the room as far as who's here and what that experience is. So if you can just quickly, want to go through this, as I said, fairly quickly. Say your name and if you want your affiliation, and then indicate if one of these levels applies to you. Hopefully one of them will, because they seem to be fairly extreme. So my name is Seth Horwitz. I am an independent consultant under the name of Communishare, and I do a lot of consulting here with the American Friends Service Committee. And I think that I have to really qualify myself as number 3. I've poked around a little bit, but I'm not using it a lot. So let's start here, Barbara.
Barbara Goodman, Communications Director at the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers, and haven't had a chance to touch it, but looking forward to learning a little bit about it.
Hi, this is Ralph. I work here at the American Friends Service Committee. I'm on the web team and do web development and trainings. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm number 3.
Hi, I'm Tay. I'm with the American Friends Service Committee. I'm the online constituent coordinator, and I'm a number 1.
Mary Catherine Dabrowski, and I'm with Surrey Services for Seniors, and I am a number 2. I got invited to join somebody's group. Circle. Thank you. Thank you. Set up a profile and don't know what to do now.
I'm going to interrupt for just a moment. I'm sorry because I forgot an important point. I want to invite the people who are watching the stream and using the Twitter channel to also introduce yourselves on Twitter with the hashtag of PHLNE22, and also indicate your level of experience. And Michael Schweisheimer, who's monitoring that, will gather those numbers and we'll add that to our totals, and we'll have a more complete picture of our audience tonight. So sorry for the interruption. Please continue.
Hi, I'm Sonia Thompson. I'm the online content manager at PhillyCam, which is our public access television station here in Philadelphia, and I'm number 3.
Hi, my name is Veronica Lanson. I'm with Greater Philadelphia Tourism Marketing Corporation, and I'm in the web department. I work on online partnerships. I don't have any Google Plus experience. I'm reading a lot about it, but I haven't touched it yet.
My name's Cliff Stevens. My company is Locadote, as in local anecdote. We do a location-based audio platform for mobile, and I am a number 1 also. I have no experience with Google+.
Hi, I'm Sharon Torello, and I have a new organization called Local Arts Live, and a website, localartslive.com. And I would call myself between 3 and 4, so let's go for 3, I guess.
Hi, my name is Sandra Wilhite. I'm between jobs right now, looking to go into open source development, and I guess I'm at 3 right now.
What number? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, at 3.
So please speak directly into the mic. It's easier to hear.
My name is Louise Salinas. I work for a Quaker organization in this building, Friends World Committee for Consultation, section of the Americas, and I'd say I'm a number 2.
Hi, I'm Christina Ciatis. I work at Drexel University School of Public Health in this building. I'm a research associate, and I'm a number 1.
Hi, I'm Mike Reichner. I'm an independent web and database developer, and I'm a 2.
Hi, I'm Mark Coleman, president of Tactile Design Group. We're a web development company, and I'm a number 3.
Phil Jones, and I'm tallying these things, so I'm going to have
Podcast Steve Lubetkin from Professional Podcasts, and I am a number 3.
My name is Mary DeRoe, and I'm a number 1, and I want to be 4.
My name is Helix, and I'm a number 3.
I'm Michael Schweisheimer, and I'm mid-back channeling, and I guess I'm a number 3.
I'm Craig DeLarge, and I'm number 4, although I'm not sure what that means.
I'm Jackie Lewis with Science Cheerleader. I'm a number 1, but I did SET's required reading, so maybe that's a 1.5. Those were some good resources, too.
We don't have halves.
My name's Leo Cavell, and I'm a number 1.
Margaret Hillsboss, and I'm a number 3, hoping to be a 4 soon.
Hi, I'm Wendy Univer. I work at the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College, and I'm a 3.
Hello again, I'm Dave Rabel. I'll bore you with everything about generosity next time. I am a number 1.
Hi, I'm Becky Steele. I work for the American Friends Service Committee, and I'm a number 3.
Doug McCown. I work with Pendle Hill, and I'm a number 1.
Eric Lucas, independent web developer, working with company Dartmouth Technology Solutions, open source technology, and I am a number 1 waiting for an invite.
John James, number 3.
Paul Glover, Patch Adams Free Clinic, 1.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andy Sharp, the incoming news development editor at Flying Kite Media. And I would say I'm a number 2, but going down.
Hi, my name's Meg Ryder. I work at McGee Rehab around the corner, and I would say I'm between a 2 and a 3.
Hello, Fran Andrews. I'm with the Philadelphia Education Fund. I'm a number 1, but I did receive an invite today, so I'm very excited.
I'm Terry Haggard, and I'm with Public Citizens for Children and Youth, and I'm number 1, and I did also receive an invite about a week ago.
Josh Rowe. I work with the Trust for Mutual Understanding, and I'm a 3.
Julianne Grasso, and I think I'm a number 3.
I'm Sean Nita, Media Coordinator for Consumer Credit Counseling Service, and I'm a number 3, I think.
My name is Dana Zebek. I'm the Program Director and Social Media Coordinator for the Alice Paul Institute, and I am a number 3.
Hello, my name is Joshua Fialkoff. I'm with Sather, a custom software firm. I'm a 3 right now, and I'm looking for Google to inspire me to be a 4. We'll see if that happens.
Hi, I'm Nancy Kramer, and I am a professor at the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College, and I'm a number 4, but I'm thinking maybe I'm doing it wrong.
Mitch Collier with Information Ventures, doing health and policy work for the federal government, and I'm a number 1.
Judith Zausner, I'm an entrepreneur in the creativity sector, and I'm a number 1.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Hall. I do student outreach for FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights Education, and I'm a number 2.
Hi, I'm Joanna. I also work at FIRE with Jacqueline. I'm the Public Awareness Associate. I do the social media and online media. And I'm a number 4, but I'm really just posting pictures of cats.
So you're the one.
You want to be in my circle, you have to like kittens and stuff.
My name is Billy Engelman, and I'm number 3. I want to be number 4.
Robert Goldstein. I guess I would be number 1. I'm uncertain of Google Plus or Google Minus.
I'm Ivan Boothe. I do consulting under the name rootwork.org, and I am a number 4, although it's worth pointing out I have given up on Facebook, but I'm still on Twitter.
I've read about this for months.
My name is Andrew Sather. I work for Jenkins Law Library. We're a private membership law library on the other side of town. And I really hope I'm a number 4, mainly because if I'm not, I shouldn't be up here. And we're going to find out later tonight if I am, so you can be the judge.
Anybody else?
I would think you get a computer manager.
Okay. Oh, and from the cyberspace, do we have any votes?
We have many. We have 3 1s, 4 2s.
Well, you might have to go slower.
I apologize.
Our system is not quite that high tech.
I'm using paper and pencil. So.
3 1s.
3 1s, 4 2s.
Can't have it.
7 3s. And no self-admitted 4s or 5s.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting distribution. Now, how many people are expecting to hear wise expertise to answer all your questions tonight? You may be disappointed. Google Plus has only been out for a month. All anyone in this room for sure has been able to do is to play around with it, some more than others. And I really appreciate Andrew and Ivan for taking it upon themselves to try and bone up on some of the stuff in order to share it. But we're expecting that the expertise is really going to come from everyone. And that's what we tried to design the evening around, so that that can happen, especially as we learn a little bit about Google+, and then we can think with the rest of the expertise we have in the room as far as how that can be applied to nonprofits, our social change ambitions that many of us have, and whether this thing really fits together. So that's what we're going to be doing. Ivan reminded me that we have the video from last month up on the website, which was about video for social media, and we'll try and get the video from this site up there as well. In addition to streaming it, we're also recording it, and we'll be putting that up on the website. One thing I did forget to mention about that is for anyone who would prefer not to be video taped in any manner, if you go over toward the corner over there, Meg, raise your hand. Over in that area where Meg is, you can be in the video-free zone, and we will try and make sure you.
Say my bail, I don't care.
Okay, so I'm going to move on. We're going to Andrew and Ivan are going to show and talk about a lot of stuff, and I'm going to say ahead of time we're going to try and minimize the questions at this point so that we have sufficient time for the small groups and large group sharing. So it's over to Andrew.
I'll make
Oh, you from over here?
Yes. Thank you. Sorry.
Hi guys, how are you? My name's Andrew Sather. I, like Seth said, am going to give you a quick introduction to Google+, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ivan, and I'll help Ivan out a little bit with demonstrations. Now, Ivan laughed at me a little bit because in my intro, I'm really going to try to tell you all Google's intentions for launching Google+, and that's kind of a joke because no one really ever knows Google's intentions. But I'm hoping that this gives you like kind of a decent idea of what at least industry insiders are saying this social network is supposed to be about. And if you ever want this presentation, that URL right there will get it for you. I do have a couple links in the presentation throughout, and so it might be nice to be able to just jump to it, and you'll be able to go to whatever slides you want to see and click the necessary link. So, and I'll have this up at the end too. So I think that actually I was monitoring the Twitter feed while Seth was talking, and I saw that we have a ton of people who are tweeting online, and I don't know if you guys watched the invite count, but I think we had like 90 people say that they were going to be somehow involved in this, either here or online. And I counted someone from Costa Rica and Chicago currently watching online. So I think that's somewhat of a testament to how popular this has gotten. Not us, but Google+, as much as we'd like to be that popular. Google+ has really obviously made an impact on anyone, not just people very interested in social media. I'm sure a lot of people that you know who aren't necessarily social media gurus have already signed up for a Google+ account. The question, though, that I guess we're going to try to answer today is what is Google+? And I put the simple answer to what is Google+ up here as the first bullet point. And it's a simple answer because it's kind of simplified. If you talk to, if you read what the so-called people who know, the pontificators on social media, they'll tell you that's the really obvious thing, that Google is trying to go after Facebook's market, and they're trying to compete and create their own Google-ish Facebook. But there's actually, at least it's claimed, kind of an ulterior motive to this as well that I think is very interesting, and it does have a lot of implications on social media as we go forward. And anyone who's really interested in the social media industry or follows this at all or works with it, I think it's interesting from that respect. And the reason that people are saying this isn't the whole answer is actually because Google has tried to do social networks before. You may have heard of them. More likely you haven't because they flopped. And when you compare the amount of effort and time and resources that Google has really poured into Google+ in the past year or so, their other startups just kind of pale in comparison. It's really obvious that Google has made this kind of a game changer, that they're putting a lot of their company on the line by launching this. And as a comparison, there's some question as to whether these services, if you remember them, whether these services ever had any hope, and the answer is, for the most part, no. Even though they're pretty much, even though they're also attempts to get into the social media space. So Google+ is supposed to be this attempt to get into the social media space, but so are these, and Google never really put any serious resources behind these three. And all three of them, in some respects, have kind of flopped. Orkut is actually very popular in India and Brazil, so if you have family there, thumbs up. If you don't, it really doesn't do much for you. It is available to you, but most people in North America really haven't latched on to that. Google Wave was supposed to revolutionize how we communicate with our peers, our friends, and all of that. And they announced last year, or within months of this, of it launching, that they weren't going to continue development, that it was too complicated, that it wasn't ever going to get widespread adoption. And then Google Buzz actually is the one you're most likely to have heard about, mainly because Google was sued because of Google Buzz. They actually ended up violating a lot of privacy issues. They released more information about their users than they ought to have, and then their users knew about. But besides that, there also just wasn't any adoption of Google Buzz. So these are three products that you may have heard about, or maybe not. But the point is that they tried to get into the social media sphere before. They really didn't put a lot of resources into these, and because of that and other reasons, they kind of flopped. The difference between that and Google Plus is just the amount of effort that's gone into it, and we're going to get to it. We'll get to that. The history of Google Plus is that shortly after Google Buzz kind of died in 2010, a lot of the leadership at Google started to get worried that Facebook has had an ability that Google didn't yet have, which was that Facebook, when you think about it, knows who your friends are. They may know who your children are, who your parents are, your siblings, those sorts of things. And not only do they know all that, but they also know what all of you like, literally, because you like things on the web. You click the like button. So Facebook knows that Ivan and I are friends, and Facebook knows that Ivan has liked certain things on the internet, and Facebook also knows that I have liked certain things on the internet, which means that Facebook is in a unique position, if they wanted to compete with Google's search by creating a social-powered search. The idea being that instead of doing something where a computer tells me what's important to me, instead, my friends can tell me what's important to me. And based off of the likes and interests of my influencers, my friends, my family, Facebook could provide a better ranking algorithm, a better way to do search than Google could. And so Google began to get worried about that because Facebook had that information, and all it really took was that effort on Facebook's part to create that kind of engine. And that's when really the idea of Google Plus came about, because, well, how does Google get that information? If Google wants to compete in that sphere, if Google wants to be able to change its search algorithm to return results to you that are more relevant to you based on who you know, then Google needs to know who you know. And there's no easy way of doing that except with a social network. With a social network where you literally tell Google, these are my friends. These are my parents, these are my family, these are my coworkers. And if you haven't touched Google Plus, you're going to see in a second, you literally do that on Google Plus. You are telling Google, these are my friends. You have the ability to say, these are my cat-loving friends, for example. So you can have your circle devoted to just people who want to learn about or want to see cat videos. But you're pretty much stocking that database for Google. And that benefits Google in a way where it's kind of created a new strategy for search. And that's what this quote was really about here, where the vision of search was that they wanted to change how it is that Google indexes information and how it is that it displays it for you. So this question about, is Google a social company? They've had all these failures, yes, and then, but this is supposed to be what turns that around, and it's supposed to be this dynamic change in their business strategy, how they're going to compete in search, which is really their flagship product. So what is Google Plus? The easy answer is that it's Facebook. It's Facebook, but for Google. But the slightly more complicated answer is that really they're trying to push a completely different way for you to find information online, a different way for you to do discovery, to find new when you do search, to find new news articles that you're interested in, to find new content that you're interested in. Because what they want to do is they want to say, well, okay, you are this type of person, you have these sorts of friends, and these friends tend to think this is important. You probably care more about what your friends think of Harry Potter than you do about the random person in LA running a review of the movie. And to take that a step further, if your friends are all attorneys, when you do a search for Guantanamo Bay, you maybe care a little more about social justice issues and the constitutional questions involved in Guantanamo Bay than you do maybe the latest news. And so the idea is, let's find out who your influencers are and then help that to drive our search. So I mainly think this is really important for a few reasons. One is that Google, it does, of course, affect the future of social media, this idea that social media can power your discovery, how you're finding information. But then on a more practical note, every time I hear someone tell me now that Google Plus is just a phase, or this social media thing is just a phase, right? This is something that Google has really staked its reputation on, and they put so many resources into it. And to be specific about that, what I mean is this is actually the largest project in Google corporate history. They have brought together, never before in the history of Google have so many divisions been brought together for the same product. And they've had in-depth participation from both co-founders at different points in the project. They created a whole new division for it. They brought a vice president from Microsoft over and a project manager from Apple over to actually be part of this development process. And so when you look at really what they're staking, really what's at stake for them, and what they believe the future of search is, it's hard for me to see that Google Plus is really just a thing. It's really just something that could flop like Google Buzz or Wave or those things that I mentioned in the beginning. This is something where and it would seem pretty clear by these quotes, that Google employees realize is part of their future and that they have to adapt to the issues that confront them, and that they're going to have to make sure that this is a success. So I'm glad you're all here so that we can learn how to use it, because I don't think it's going to go away like these other flops, and I really think that Google is trying to overcome its reputation and track record for having such a poor social media abilities. With that, because that's pretty much all I've got to say, I'm going to throw up that URL one more time so you guys can pull this down, and then I'm going to join Ivan and we can start demoing what it is that Google does, how to use it, and just some practical issues with practicalities, because all this is abstract. So, all right, thanks. Ivan.
So, can you switch me over to this one? So hi everybody, my name's Ivan. Again, I do consulting under the name Rootwork. I work in Philadelphia with a group called Casino Free Philly, and also with the Fellowship of Reconciliation, which is in New York. Google Plus. So I'm going to try and do some demoing here. The two of us are going to demonstrate some sort of social aspects of Google Plus, and then we'll talk a little more about, as Seth mentioned, the sort of implications for nonprofits or social change in Google Plus and in using Google Plus. So this is, for the moment, the page you'll see when you first sign up for Google Plus, and you'll notice that because of the projector, there's some more over here that you can't see. So it sort of gives you a little introduction to the three of the main features. You'll notice a big notice down here saying it's still in field trial. So this is a little more beta than a lot of Google beta products. Google News and Gmail stayed in beta both for years. So I think they want to make sure that people really know this is really a beta. So things can and have changed since launching. So I'll try just sort of going through some of the different pieces here. So all of this is tied to a Google profile. So a few years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Google started sort of making a lot of noise about encouraging people to set up a Google profile that would show up in search. So if you search for Ivan Boothe, one of the things you'll see, I think it's actually at the bottom of the page, is a link to my Google profile with my picture. So all of it is based off of that. And if you have a Google account of any kind, you can set up a Google profile. And that's sort of the starting point, and then all that stuff gets pulled in to Google+. And you don't have to have a Gmail address to use Google+. I have a Gmail address, but I didn't use it to set this up. So you can set it up with any address as long as that address has a Google account tied to it. So going across the top here, this first button is the home button. The second button here shows photos from your stream. So these are all your friends, people that you're following, people in your circles. It's worth pointing out that Facebook is the largest photo sharing site on the internet. You might think it'd be Flickr or some photo-oriented site, but it's Facebook. And so Google is clearly making a play for that, those social relationships and those photos that could show up in searches. This button takes you to your profile, so this is mine. I'll go through some of the stuff that appears on here in a minute. And then finally we get to the circles, which are the secret sauce, I guess, of Google Plus. So one of the things that Google incorporated into building this that they hadn't done as much before was a lot more visual design finesse. So just to demonstrate one of those things, some of you may have seen this or heard about it already. So if you want to create a new circle, and I'll talk about these circles, but just to quickly demonstrate something. So if I call this test circle, and it's going to be empty, and so I create it, and this might be our full screen. So okay, so here's my test circle. So I changed my mind and I decided to delete the circle. Oh, but you can't see it because it's alright. Let me try this again.
Ivan?
Yeah.
Ivan, could you speak up just a little bit, just for the web audience?
I will speak up.
Thank you.
If you do command in the negative side, shrink the, there you go. All right.
All right, so we're doing this again. Create a test circle. Create. There's the test. Deleting it. Delete. Watch. There it goes. So pretty different from the sort of minimalist Google products that we know. So let's talk about these circles. Circles are kind of like Twitter lists. They're kind of like Facebook lists, which most people don't use or don't use extensively. Basically, they're collections of your connections with people, be those friends or colleagues or business contacts or whomever. And people can be in multiple circles. And they work basically in two directions. So they're used for filtering things that are coming into you, and they're used for sharing things that are going out. So to demonstrate that, let me go back to my home page here. And again, I'll talk about some more of these things. But for now, I'm just going to type demonstrating Google Plus. All right, so it auto-filled all these in. So let me. All right, so by default, this is what you see. So add circle or people to share with. So I can start typing a name like Andrew Sather, right? Or I can pick from my particular list. So I do a lot of stuff with Drupal, a content management system. So this is a circle full of people who are in some way connected to Drupal, right? Here's the Philly NetSquared list, so people who contacted us ahead of time asking for an invite. All of you are in this circle of mine, Philly NetSquared, among others. And so you can have multiple circles. Again, they can be overlapping. People can be in multiple circles. And so when, if I were to share this right now, Andrew would see it, and people in my Drupal circle would see it, and nobody else would see it. So if you go to my profile, if you look in your stream, this post wouldn't show up on any of those other people's streams. So you can also, sorry, I'm doing this at an angle, so it's a bit challenging. You can share with the whole public, of course. And what's interesting about this is that I'm not connected to Mark Zuckerberg, right? You may have heard that Mark Zuckerberg does have a Google Plus profile, but he shows up there. So this is actually different from Facebook and from some of the Twitter clients where it sort of auto completes people that you're connected to. This lets you share it with anyone, including the various Mark Zuckerbergs. And this is a good example of the way that Google Plus is, like Twitter, one-way relationships. So you can follow someone, and unlike Facebook, they don't have to friend you back in order to make that connection. Now, you won't see stuff that they post unless it's either public or they decide to share it with you.
Wait a minute.
Well, that's the.
So how would Mark Zuckerberg ever see this?
So he would see it in his notifications that I mentioned him.
That it wouldn't show up in his feed.
It wouldn't show up on his profile. It could show up here. I think he could block me, or he could mute me, I think is what it's called.
But it would, if he clicked the home button, it would show up in his.
Yeah, in his stream, and so it'll show up in his stream, but stuff he writes is not going to show up in Ivan's stream. That's the point.
That's the one way piece.
Right.
He can filter what comes into his stream.
I hope so.
Right, exactly. Pretty kind of nuts.
And then similar to Facebook, Facebook's little sharing app, you can attach a link here, and it will pull stuff in. Kind of annoyingly, you can't change any of this. You can change the image, but you can't change the description. And so then when you share it, obviously it shows up in your stream, but then if you go over to, this is my profile. Now again, this is me looking at my profile, so I see obviously everything that I've posted. If Andrew goes and looks at my profile, he'll see some of these things, but not all of them. And what's interesting is that if someone else shares something with you, and then you want to share it again, you get this interesting little notification. So, gotta find. Oh, here it is. Okay, so Steve, back there, Podcast Steve, shared stuff about this event, and if I click share, I get this little notification. I'm not sure if you can see it. Oops. So it says, this post was originally shared with a limited audience. Remember to be thoughtful about who you share it with.
Oh, share it with everybody.
I already did. Don't worry. But so it does have a little bit of a built-in. Some Twitter clients do that too. If you try to retweet a tweet from someone's account that's been locked, it'll sort of warn you about that.
Ivan?
Yes.
You said you can change that image. Can you show us how, please?
Yeah, I mean...
The question, please?
The question was, when you share something, if you can change this image. So you can sort of change the image. You can change it... see if it auto-completes. So there are these little arrows up here, and you can pick different images. But only ones that it pulls in.
It's just like Facebook.
Yeah. So it is like Facebook. This part on Facebook you would also be able to change, and you can't on this, at least for now. Okay, so something you might have seen as I'm sort of wandering around with my mouse is that if I hover over someone, you get this little pop-up card that has their name and their affiliations. And then what circle they're in, and from that you can add them to other circles or remove them. And it also shows who you have in common. So here's Seth Horowitz. I click on him, so you can see it's pretty similar to what the sort of layout of my profile. So coming from somewhere else, you see pretty much the same system. So similar to Facebook, it has these sort of little tabs along here, so you can have some information about yourself, just like the Facebook info tab. There's your photos, videos, I guess. I haven't posted anything. And then this, Andrew's going to talk a little bit about, but this is supplied by Google's new +1, which you have probably seen incessantly on all your Google searches, floating off to the right of all those pages. So Andrew's going to talk more about that, but that's what this section is for. And all of these tabs are public to the extent that the items in them are visible to whoever's looking at them. Okay. Let's see. Oh, so once you're on Google Plus, you can send invitations to more people. As far as we can tell, there's no limit, which is why we just offered invites to whoever wanted one. It has suggestions, just like Facebook, right? They're trying to get you to build your network.
Can I offer one suggestion on invites? The invites tend to go through to your friends faster when you invite a Gmail account.
Yeah.
If you invite another email.
Yeah, so the comment was, it seems like the invitations go through faster to Gmail accounts. Although I know that you can register without having to have a Gmail account, but it doesn't mean it's faster. Possibly unsurprisingly. Okay, so one more thing about the circles. I said that they were sort of two-way things. So we've seen how they filter what you're sharing, what you're pushing out. But they also can help you filter what's coming in. So right now I'm looking at my feed, which is everybody I'm actively following, all of their stuff showing up here. But you can see down along the left-hand side here, I have my different circles showing up here. And so if I click on any of them, I'll see things just from those people. Incoming are things that have been posted by people who follow you but you're not following. So it's sort of like a wonder what these people I don't know are doing, and maybe I should follow them. So that's kind of nice, because I know I've gotten followings from people I don't know directly. So it's nice to sort of get a sense of who they are in this way. And then notifications, up here on the right-hand side, you see that little red one. This, I should mention, this black bar here is something that was pushed out by Google in the last month, I think, across all Google products. So it used to be a sort of gray bar with some beveling, and now it's this flat black bar. And when you're on, once you sign up for Google Plus, this area over here shows up on all Google products as well. So you'll see when you have a notification of some kind. And when you click on that, you get this little miniature list of things that have been going on relating to your profile. So you can see this highlighted one is the one new one. And so someone new has added me to a Google Plus circle. And if I click on that, I can see all the people who added me recently, and I can add those people to different circles. These are people I've already added to circles. And then if I click on View All, that takes me to this item on the left-hand side, which will let you go through all of them. And then additionally up here, it'll show you if people have +1'd, aka liked, your postings, whatever those postings are. And if people have shared particular things, if people mentioned things. Do you want to ask something?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I think that covers all the basics for now. And Andrew's going to talk about a few more.
Should I do the hangout? Are we doing time to try a hangout? Or?
Yeah, okay. All right, so we're going to try one of the features of Google Plus, which is called the Hangout, which is basically a group video chat. If you have an Android phone, they confusingly call it a huddle. It's the same thing. Okay, so you can see it's coming through my computer over here.
Don't you have to install a plugin first?
You do have to install a plugin. If you've ever used Google Voice Chat from within Gmail, it's the same one. But yes, you do have to install a plugin, and so there's a step there. That's true. So just like when you're sharing something, you can decide who to hang out with. So I'm not going to invite everyone. I'm just going to invite Andrew. See there? All right.
Can other people join your hangout if you haven't invited them?
I don't think so. as far as I can tell, there's no way they would know about it because it doesn't show up.
It's going to say you're hanging out, but it doesn't actually give you the option to join, I think.
Okay.
One of the articles we read said that if they have the unique URL, they could, but you would have to give them the URL.
All right, so I saw Ivan's invitation.
Where did it show up, Andrew?
So Ivan's invitation showed up. Ivan's invitation showed up on my screen, and then it also, if I'm in Ivan's profile, it's going to be there. It just says Ivan is hanging out. Literally, that's it. And I just and now it wants me. It's basically giving me a video feed of what I look like to make sure I'm handsome enough to broadcast. And I'm going to appear up there, and I think we saw this at delay. So. Yeah, so you can see it. I mean, you can chat.
So there is a 10, for the moment at least, there's a 10-person participant cap. So only 10 people can be videoing at the same time, but multiple people can watch, and we haven't gotten 11 people together to figure out what that looks like exactly. But reports say that multiple people can sort of watch, but only 10 people can participate in the group video chat. Yeah.
One important thing about the circles is that other people can't see your circles. They don't know who's in your circle.
That's right, yeah. The private circles. So you can call your circles whatever you want. You can slice and dice people up however you want. People will know if they're in a circle of yours, but they won't know what one it is or what it's called. Or it could be annoying people I never want to hear from circle.
They don't know.
Can I say one last thing? Yeah. All right. So I do have one other point that we kind of skimmed over, but I think it's awesome because I don't think Facebook ever did a great job of it, which was that in your profile, Google has set it up so that you can choose which elements of your profile you share in which circles. So I believe that was possible on Facebook, but I believe that also everyone got frustrated with just being able to do it well. So I can decide that I don't want other people to know where I live, or I don't want my mom to know if I'm dating anyone. I can just say family doesn't get to see this particular thing, or only these individuals get to see these particular elements. And it's very simple. It's very easy. You just edit your profile and you choose your circles. And then if you have any question about who can see what, it actually has a masquerade option where you can become someone else. So you can see, like, view this profile as your friend Ivan Boothe.
Oh.
So I can actually, and I mean, that's something that Facebook complained about never being able to do easily, and then Google in 100 days of development did it. So, I mean, I think that's one of the cool benefits of Google+.
So,
yes, I can talk about that if we have time. If not, it doesn't.
Okay.
It's up to. What's our time look like? Okay, we can ask the website information. Okay.
So I'll just say quickly that the +1 area on the profile is built from those little buttons in Google search, and also people can embed those +1 icons or buttons on their own website, and so that shows up in your profile and your stream, and it would show up to anyone who has you in their circles because it's by default public. So now I'm going to talk a little more specifically about implications for nonprofits and social change, and then we're going to move into like small group discussions. So I'm going to try and kind of race through these things, and then you'll all have more time to think and talk about these items. And a few of these things come from the articles that we posted ahead of time, so some of them might be familiar to you, but there are also some things that are not from those. Okay, so the first thing that we really have to say when it comes to nonprofits is that right now Google Plus is restricted to actual people. So if you're a company or a brand or an organization or a collection Officially, you can't register on Google+. You could register, but Google+ might delete you at some point. Google+ has said specifically they're working on the business and organization version rollout. Clearly, it's really important to their advertising dollar strategy. So I have no doubt that will come at some point. But for right now, if you're in a nonprofit, it might be worth checking out Google+, but you would have to do it under your own name, under a Sather. Okay, so implications of Google+. Finding people to organize gets a little bit easier for two reasons. One is from the Twitter and MySpace models, everybody's profiles are public by default. Now, they might not display that much information on their public profiles. They've locked down all of those privacy settings. But Google actually took the step of deleting, or maybe it was making public, all of the profiles that were previously private. So in that pre-Google Plus stage, when you could set up a Google profile that would just appear in Google searches, those have all become public now. So it's easier to at least locate people on Google+. And then second, from Facebook, they've taken this principle of having people register under their quote-unquote real names. And we're going to get back to that a little bit later because it has some other implications for social change and community organizing stuff. In terms of communication stuff from nonprofits, it has a sort of professionalizing effect on those communications, and I mean that in both the good way and the bad way. So, not to get too sidetracked, but there was this book called The Cathedral and the Bazaar about the differences between sort of bottom-up software development, like open source collaboration, and like top-down, like corporation-style software development. So, if you think of Facebook and Twitter as the bazaar type of communication, where you're just sort of blasting things out to all of the people who follow you or friend you or are fans of your page or whatever. This is moving into a much more controlled, cathedral-like, top-down, you can decide who you're sharing this information with. So this means for nonprofits, you get basically the equivalent of targeted emails, like list segmentation for the things you share on your profile. It would be great, right? On the other hand, for nonprofits and advocacy groups and activists who work around corporate accountability, all of a sudden the things that corporations are doing or that corporate personality are doing are not as public. So they can communicate one message to one group of people and another message to another group of people, and they won't actually know that there are different messages being published out there. Actually organizing people on Google Plus for the moment is a little bit harder. And part of that is because of what was said earlier, that people's circles right now are private. So there's no like analog to a Facebook group. People can't join a sort of public collection of people who want to know about something. They can list it in their interests, which is sort of the Sparks thing, which we didn't touch on. But there's not an easy way to sort of collaborate together unless someone goes out and finds you and recruits you and brings you into their little organizing circle. So one sort of mechanism around that for community organizers or online organizers would be identifying network connectors. So people who are on Google Plus are connected to a lot of other people on Google Plus. So you can't individually go out and recruit everyone who might be interested in it, but you can recruit the people who might know other people who are interested in it. And this is a sort of model of what different networks might look like, from Bob Krebs, who some of you have probably heard of, and June Hawley. And so what Google Plus is trying to move to is this sort of multi-hub, small world, in which everybody has a little circle. and those circles are made up of other places, and ultimately you get to the sort of core periphery model where there's like different pieces overlapping, which is what a lot of, if you've ever seen charts of Twitter postings over time, that's a lot what it looks like. But the sort of multi-hub model is what Google Plus sort of aspires to be. So again, I know I'm running through these, but we will get more time to talk. So, the thing about the real names, there's been a fair amount of debate among Google Plus early adopters around this. At the moment, you have to use a real name or a common name. It's kind of unclear exactly what qualifies or what Google requires as proof. But Google Plus has deleted a bunch of accounts that they felt were not living up to that real name requirement. And so obviously that has implications for people doing organizing in repressive regimes like in Egypt or in Syria, rape survivors, whistleblowers, transgendered folks, civil servants who don't want people to know their political affiliations. A lot of people, in particular communities with which nonprofits and advocacy groups might be working, might not be able to navigate that real name requirement. So there's been some activism around that, people pushing Google to revise their policy. Just today, there was a Google staffer, I think anonymously, who said that Google Plus wants to support, wants to be able to keep people safe, people who might be threatened if their real name were known, but that simply allowing people to have pseudonyms on Google Plus doesn't go far enough. And so if they're going to say we can protect people, they want to actually protect people and not have other sort of tracking and name-related information that could be cross-referenced or compared in order to determine who that is. So you can take that statement for what you will. But clearly there's still a lot of internal discussion and thinking within Google about how to implement this or whether to continue with this policy. So the hangouts have a couple of different implications. One is that you can quickly collaborate with people you're working with, especially obviously if you're working at a distance. Does that replace Skype or Facebook chat or GChat? I don't know, maybe. In one of the articles we passed around or linked to ahead of time, Patrick Meyer, who works with crisis mappers, talks about the ways that Hangouts could facilitate activists who do crisis mapping. So when a disaster happens and things need to be collectively plotted on a map. These kind of hangouts could be useful for that, where people don't already know each other, they're not already working in an organization together, but they can quickly jump on here and do a collaborative video chat. So that's one possibility. In terms of nonprofits, you can have these sort of impromptu webinars for your nonprofits. Again, that 10-person cap is for video participants, but more people can watch the exchange. This is actually a screenshot that was posted on Flickr by, I think, a local news, which did a news segment over the Hangout. And so all those people on the left are people who are watching online, and that's a news anchor, I guess. So you could do, lunchtime chats with your supporters, or Colin Delaney in his piece on ePolitics talked about, what if political campaigns, this senior staff do public conversations with each other, sort of transparent strategy around the campaign, and real supporters would get to watch it or something. So different things with that. Okay, so wrapping up. In terms of analyzing whether Google Plus is something you should explore. I think the principle for any social network is that you should go where your people are. So, if you're the executive director of the super tech early adopter social media guru association, Google Plus might be right for you right now. If you're involved in a nonprofit that has less sort of edge case social media techniques involved in everyday sort of support for the organization, it might be worth exploring, but probably isn't worth taking a lot of time away from your mission-oriented stuff at the moment. And in particular, you want to avoid the shiny objects in your life. And so one way to do that, and this is a general social media thing, is to, you need to know something about your supporters. And so when Google Plus goes public, it might be worth surveying people or figuring out some mechanism to find out what percentage of your supporters might be on that network, just like you would with others. So that's all I have. These are links to some of the resources that this information was drawn from, and we'll be posting this information, the slides, and the links on the website afterwards. All right, Seth, over to you.
First of all, thank you, Andrew and Ivan, for preparing all that. I know that a lot of people have a lot of questions. There's no doubt about it. The problem we're facing here is that we have an overambitious agenda. On the one hand, we want to say, what is Google Plus, which covers a lot of stuff and really needs a lot more questions. And then we wanted to address the core topic, which was, is it useful for nonprofits and social change groups, and what does it mean for that? What are the implications? And Ivan touched upon that in this latter part. So what we're going to do now is we're going to break into some small groups, and we're going to focus on various different questions. And then we'll do that for 20 minutes, so you'll be able to talk with a small group. It'll be, it's easier to be able to get your voice out and be able to get feedback from folks like that. We'll be able to focus on some questions, and then we'll come back into the larger group, share those insights or perhaps subsequent questions which resulted from those questions, and we'll take those notes, as I mentioned before. Phil will copy those notes on the page, and that will be then sent back out to everyone and available on the website. So what we did is we chose two broad overarching questions to get started with. And one is, does Google Plus really offer advantages over Facebook and Twitter for nonprofits and social change? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it does. If it does, what are those advantages, or what are the conditions under which it would provide some advantages? And the second broad question is, how can Google Plus be used inside an organization? So not just communicating with the world and with the public circles and all your other circles, but within an organization, does it have particular utility that might be useful? So what I'd like to do is I'd like to generate three or four more questions that can be the focus questions. So I know that there's a lot of questions here, and some of them are very specific about, how do I add someone to two circles at once, or whatever it is. That's not the kind of questions I'm talking about. The broader questions I'd like to try and pull out of the group right now are other broad questions about, that address the theme of why we're here in a broad sense. So I'm hoping that people can think of a couple of those questions, and we'll put them up there, and then all of the groups will be able to address any of the questions. So do any questions occur to someone? Wendy.
This may be too narrow, but I'm really curious about how this +1 icon is going to affect search engine optimization, given that Google's the primary search engine. Are they going to favor that? And then how do we who manage websites deal with the proliferation of these little googles that we have to plop all over our websites to get them?
I think that's a good question. Maybe we should just broaden a little bit to say, what are the implications of the +1 in general, including SEO and whatever else? Because there might be other sorts of implications of it. Michael?
The
Twitter channels have been a buzz with questions about security, including is this hackable? Is it really private? If someone can repost something that you shared as a limited group to a larger group, so there's just a lot of privacy security concerns in general.
Okay, so how should we frame that? What is it? What are the privacy and security?
Basically, the question is Google Plus truly as private and secure as it's claimed?
Okay. All right. Great. Yes.
A question that I've heard discussed before about search-based on our preferences is that it can tend to isolate us into a bubble of yeses, of things that are already in harmony with our opinions. So you don't see you don't see competing or different opinions other than the ones that all of your circle support. So the question would be, is this a bad thing for search to bubbleize us or to filter our
echo chamber,
to filter our searches by our circles?
Maybe a broader question is, do we want somebody monitoring and censoring our searches? Is that what this is going to lead to? Yeah. Well,
I think that's a different question.
Is it?
It's already happening now.
That's true.
I think that's actually related to the privacy and security question. But I think that's a good one and should be included in there. Andy?
I would ask what kind of relationship will Google Plus have with all of the other Google services, Gmail, Google Groups, etc.
Okay. Let's try to do one more. Nancy?
Yeah, mine is like number 5, but it's more the kind of thing we can control, which is that what are the advantages and costs for us to start sending only our professional things to our colleagues and not our friends and family? When we start siloing out our messages, unlike what we're doing on Facebook, there's a big advantage, but there's also what are the losses? Like, my family is no longer seeing what I'm sending to my colleagues, and there's something bad about that. So just to be mindful of what the siloing out does to our lives.
So is that another dimension of number 5, do you think?
No, because this is a part we can control. We can choose to send it to everybody. Number 5 is like, well, they'll do it or they won't, but it's whether we like it is another question. But Google's going to do it.
Okay, so these are some broad questions to get us started. You don't have to be limited to these questions.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to suggest that we do, because there's a tendency that when you're addressing a number of questions in a small group, that the first question gets the most shrift, and the other questions get short shrift. So what I'm going to propose is we're going to have 6 groups, and they'll be self-selected. We have no chosen facilitator, so they'll also be self-managed. And you'll see around the room A1, B2, C3, D4, E5, and on the window meeting in the lobby is F6. And so what I'd like to do is each of those groups begins with one different question. So the A group, whoever's over in the A group, the first question they'll deal with is number 1. The first question whoever in the B group are concerned will deal with number 2, C group number 3, etc. And at least you can go on to other questions, should go on to other questions, but at least if you're particularly interested in one of these specific questions, it's a good idea perhaps to go to that numbered group first if it has one of those, so you can give it the most attention. Number 7 is out of luck. In addition to the 6 groups in this room, Michael is going to be monitoring the Twitter feed, which has been pretty active through the session, who will also be looking at some of these questions as well as some of their own questions and being their own small group in the Twitterverse. So from a physical point of view, physical logistics, what we're going to do is we have a table over here. We want to move over to kind of where you guys are sitting right here, which is under where it says D4. And then we have those 1, 2, 3 tables back there, 4, and this table up here will be one table. So you may have to move your equipment or something like that if you don't want to stay at that table. And then out in the hallway is the last group. So think about which group you might want to go to. We'll need to be moving some chairs. We're going to take exactly 20 minutes. And how will we do that? Well, I'll show you. So let's break up the groups or try and finish your last comments, and we'll come back and we'll have a larger discussion, share some of those insights, and post the notes.
So do we go back to our seats?
You can go back wherever you like. You don't, I mean, Ivan and Andrew claim this space. If you'd like to stay here, that's fine.
Yeah, but see, I can't do that because they might be slumping. Some people just one more time. And you can't block your sister. You can hide for me. You don't hide.
I'm trying to get this right. No.
Okay. Wait a second.
I have a bunch of notes, but if somebody wants to
We completely trust you.
You guys can jump in.
Yeah, I can send you. Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I just have to I'm sure they don't mess around.
Yeah.
That's where I put mine. But it doesn't make sense.
30 seconds, we're going to start. So before we start our discussion and shared insights, I want to make sure that people know that if they need to leave, they should feel free to do so, because I know people have other obligations, and you won't be chastised for sneaking out. You can do so gracefully. But to tempt you to stay, I'd forgotten to mention earlier that one of the things that we've traditionally done after these meetings is to go out. We usually go to Tir na Nog for some food and or drink, and everyone is welcome to join us and invited to join us to continue some of the conversation in a less formal, well, this wasn't that formal, environment. Now, the place is a mess, which is probably a good metaphor for how people feel about Google Plus right now. And I'm sure that there's an awful lot of questions, an awful lot of either answers or other sorts of things going on here. So we're just really going to have an informal kind of discussion here. Phil is going to try and keep up with some notes so that we can share them with everyone. Feel free to shout out to Phil to say something like, no, you got that wrong, it should be this. Or if you know about a website, please post that and stuff like that. Michael's been monitoring the Twitter chat. How did that small group go?
Too small.
Okay. All right. So we'll use this as a starting structure, and we can go from there. So just using the order that we have here, what kind of insights or what kind of responses do people have to the question of whether Google Plus really offers advantages over Facebook and Twitter for the purposes of social change and nonprofit use? Anyone come up with any kind of thoughts about that or further questions? Yes. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So, just for the sake of the recording and the stream, if we can try and speak into the mic, we'll appreciate it.
Okay, so our group discussed how Google Plus is probably going to learn from Facebook's stumbles in terms of user interface, privacy concerns, things like that. Facebook is pretty mature right now, and Google Plus, we think, is going to pick up where Google or Facebook started and hopefully make the experience better for the user. Some of the things we talked about, too, were privacy concerns and how Google Plus will hopefully make those easier than Facebook has made. And also, too, talking about important issues like Twitter can track, what's happening in the news, topics, things like that. And nonprofits may be able to use that to track their own industries, what's happening, and it might make it easier for them to integrate those into the Gmail service and the Google Plus service.
Okay.
Right. And if, we talked about if a lot of people begin to dislike Facebook, which I know a lot already have, or they're frustrated by it, or they don't like being poked, they might want to jump into the Google Plus boat. There was actually a diagram that I saw recently which kind of had Google Plus in all the social networks. They had Google Plus in the middle because it's kind of a compromise between LinkedIn, which is really professional and a little bit stiff, I guess you could say, Facebook, which is kind of less formal. And so I think that people will respond well to that, and hopefully nonprofits can also use this internally, too, to have meetings, which it's free for now. Hopefully it stays pretty, the way it is. And it might be useful for a nonprofit. Somebody mentioned they have connections across the Atlantic and other countries, and it might make it easier for them to communicate to their coworkers and track what's happening over there easily. And it's all integrated, so you have your mail right there and your social networking. So.
I think nonprofits that might have less resources, or maybe their clientele might not have resources to get on computers, or maybe they just got onto Facebook, they may be reluctant to jump to a new platform.
That's pretty much it. Basically, technology using video conferencing.
We like the video conferencing, and we're actually wondering if Facebook is going to probably respond to that in some way, or kind of, try and more aggressively compete with what Google Plus is going to be offering. So we're hopeful, and we're hopeful too that the pages they introduce for their business organizations will, maybe take better advantage of what, better than Facebook did, perhaps. Okay. And that's about it.
Any other thoughts within the room about Facebook and Twitter? Kind of, are they? Is this the Facebook killer, or not? And how it might be particularly useful, Craig?
I don't think it's a killer. I think it's just another option in that you're going to have a segment of users. Some of them will come over from the currently existing networks. Others this will be the first thing that they ever use. They never did use Twitter or Facebook, and it'll find a place amid what's already there.
Especially once they do a search. They'll be introduced to Google right away and native territory. Any other comments on this topic? Okay. How about within an organization? I noticed that no one really hung around Table B, which used that as the first question. I thought this was a really interesting question. But does anyone have any thoughts about using Google Plus within your organization? Barbara?
I actually, I have a very loud voice.
I think if you speak loudly, it's probably fine. We have ceiling mics.
Oh, okay.
We'll pick things up. But
well, I was saying that I think that from an internal communication standpoint, where we talked about in our group about the list segmentation, that may be a feature that takes this out of the ordinary social networking. Being able to segment where your messages go being able to conduct small group meetings across, various boundaries, that internally, I'm even thinking of it for my news feed, my news aggregator every morning, how much easier that would be than, sending it to a circle as opposed to, an email listserv. So.
I was just thinking, I don't like phone conferencing just because you can't see people's faces and you don't know who's like getting ready to speak and are you going to jump on them, so I end up with these long pauses. I think video conferencing would make those conference calls much more practical and flow easier.
Does anyone think that using the video within an organization will impede participation? Maybe people don't want to be seen. They don't want their facial expressions interpreted. One comment I'll make about this is that here at the AFSC, we've been using video conferencing for a little while, and we've been using technology from Vidyo, V-I-D-Y-O technologies, which happens to be the same that Google Plus is using. So that, for one thing, explains why we've had trouble with some of our machines here getting out to Google Plus, but it also is something that we're going to look at very carefully, because it could very well be that Google Plus Hangouts will be as good or as easy to use over time. It looks like they're not quite yet, as what today is a more sophisticated system that we have in place.
We actually run a completely distributed environment where people are in their various locations doing whatever they're doing. And we find that it's useful because we can create a hangout and we can have that element of being social that we've kind of lost. And I think a lot of people have lost as there's this belief that we can just have these virtual work environments and kind of work on our own. But there is a social element to working, and the hangout, both in its name and its purpose, I think really hits that. That hey, I'm just kind of feeling like I want some people around. I can go into a hangout and have people come in, and as they will when they don't need to be disturbed or don't worry or they're not so concerned about being disturbed. And also, we do a lot of projects, and just as every organization does, there's small projects, and having a circle around that project for quick communication back and forth, thoughts, ideas, concepts that you want to just push out to the group. I think it's great to just have a small team and have that tool for that purpose.
So within your organization, you're using Hangouts as a communications mechanism today.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that? It's been out for a whole month.
Oh, not very long. I mean, it's only occasional right now, but it's something that right away we found it just creates a very different and more social environment where, and that was an issue for us. Was our culture was being we found that people didn't really get as excited about our business culture, about our business as we would like. And being able to bring people together, have just conversations, and not always about business, is just very useful. And so I think that can be applied in a number of different places.
Good, thanks. Sure. Any other comments about intra-organizational use of G+? Okay, the next question is about the implications of the +1 capability. For instance, for search engine optimization or other implications. Any comments or insights about that topic you want to share?
I guess
I thought there were no implications.
I can talk about what we talked about in our group.
All right, so I guess most of this was we were really talking about just general questions in terms of how can I implement this into my website. You can, in fact, implement the +1 button onto your website, like you can implement the like button onto your website, like the Facebook like button. And the implications for SEO are that the +1 is designed to, of course, affect search ratings or rankings, but they affect the rankings of my circle. So, or I'm sorry, not of my circle, of my social network. So if Ivan is in my circle and I +1 something, then next time he searches for a similar thing, my +1 content is probably going to be a little higher for him. And that doesn't necessarily apply just for Google+. You don't have to have a Google+ account to be affected by this. If I am in your Gmail contacts, your Google Talk contacts, or anything like that, then the things I+1 you could potentially see in your search results by you just I+1 Google Analytics, and you do a search for how do I track traffic on my website. Google Analytics comes up first, and it's going to be a little picture of me. It's going to say Andrew Sather +1 this. So of course Google Plus is involved in that, but you don't necessarily even have to have an account. So the +1 button actually does have some pretty awesome implications for SEO, or scary, depending on your particular situation. So.
Someone earlier mentioned having to continually put new little Boothe ads into websites, and as a web developer, I'd like to confirm that annoyance. Another thing I have to add. Yeah, really.
Other sorts of +1 implications anyone can think of or have questions about? Yes, Craig.
I think that when you're trying to build your thought leadership in a given space, that you can strategically use the +1s to do that in terms of your profile, the things that you like and share.
Why don't you say how you would do that?
So, for instance, I do mental illness advocacy. So I make a point when I'm doing searches in Google, +1 sites on that topic that I find particularly helpful. It ends up helping that site's or that resource's rankings. But the other thing, people who rely upon me for information in that field, when they do searches, guess who comes up on that ranking when they search? The fact that I +1 it. So it's an implied endorsement of people within your network.
Very interesting. I want to comment that Michael, I don't know if any comments are coming in through Twitter for this, but because the stream is actually delayed anywhere from 5 to 30 seconds from what we're experiencing here, we might get responses from Twitter that are delayed. And so you can even respond to prior ones if they come in late.
I'm sorry, just laughing because Google.
It just said Google Plus just right.
Of course. Of course. We'll recover.
I tell Microsoft about that?
Yeah, they'd love to.
My recollection of the next question had to do with security and privacy concerns, which I know is a big concern for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So what about those concerns? Anyone have any insights about that? I know we don't have security. I don't think we have security experts here who can answer all those questions, but maybe we generated some other more incisive questions to push us forward. Yes?
What was it? One of the founders of Google said something to the effect of privacy is dead. So I think if you want to be a private person, you just take your computer and you turn it off and you put it in a closet and you start writing in your diary or something. Privacy. If you're out on Facebook, you don't have privacy. If you're on Google Plus, you don't have privacy.
Yeah, we talked about the fact that if you, if you want to play this game of being out there, you just have to go with it. We did weigh some pros and cons to the security versus lack of, and more people knowing more about you. And if you are on Google Plus as well as Facebook, that kind of doubles your chances of somebody knowing more about you than maybe you'd like, but then you offer that. So.
So there's one philosophy in security of high barriers around small areas. And in the case of online, that just means the small areas you don't put online at all. That's the way to be secure, but you can still, for 99% or whatever of what you want to do, you can get online and don't worry about it.
I'll just say while I'm walking over there that one of the privacy issues that's come up with Twitter is people accidentally tweeting things that were supposed to be direct messages, right? So it'll be interesting to see when people are trying to share things with their circles, if they accidentally type the wrong circle, or if they start typing someone's name, like your mom's name is Emily, and you type Emily and it goes to the wrong Emily, or something.
So I agree with what the other commentators said that privacy is dead. If you wouldn't sit in front of like a congressional committee and talk about it, don't put it out there.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is a huge opportunity to be out there the way you choose to be out there. So a lot of times people talk about privacy as if I go on Facebook, everyone's going to know everything about me. No, they're only going to know what you put out there. And so in the areas that you have an interest in, put a lot of stuff out there about that. That's what builds your case, your thought leadership. That's what advances the agenda of the organizations and the causes that you're trying to change and get things done in the world about.
Any other comments as far as security is concerned?
I have a fast one if you have the time.
Okay, speak.
One thing that maybe, it doesn't refute what you said, but it does actually maybe scare you a little more, is that you don't necessarily have to put anything out there for this to affect your privacy.
Oh, you're right. Other people are putting stuff out.
Right. Other people are putting it out, but also, I mean, if you're logged into Facebook and you start seeing, the like button on other pages, don't think that Facebook doesn't know you visited that site, because they do. Whenever you see, if you're logged into Facebook and you visit some news article and you see there's a little like button that says and you see your friends have liked that, Facebook knows you visited it and it logged it. And that's the same with the Google Plus button. For that Google Plus button to even work, Google's going to know that you visited that site, even if it's not a Google site. So you don't necessarily even have to put something out there. You could just be logged into Google. You could just be logged into Facebook and be doing normal things. And you are putting yourself out there without doing so.
Or searching for
Right.
chlorophyll.
Right.
Even if you don't click on the button.
Even if you don't click on the button, people are just there. Right. Right.
Okay, any other last comments about security and privacy? Is that running to someone?
Just one thing to keep in mind has come up on Facebook recently is that software to reliably identify faces from snapshots. So it means that all sorts of places where you may have appeared in the picture can now be tagged with it being you.
Okay, good. That was very productive. The next question has to do with that area that doesn't have good language. We don't yet maybe have good language for it, but is it a bad thing that search bubbleizes us and filters our searches based on our circles? So Eric?
Yeah, I think in general our conclusion was that it's happening now, that it's going to continue to happen. It would be nice to know when it was happening. Sometimes it's desirable. If you're shopping for a particular product, it's good to know that your friends all like Nikon cameras, people that you respect in the photography world, that they all like Nikon cameras. That leads you in the direction that your circle moves you. In areas of like political or social discourse, perhaps it's not good to put people in I think the term was biased results, because the results are biased by what people who influence and they influence you. It was biased by that circle. So it would just be nice to know, okay, hey, these results are being socially adjusted for, and maybe there would be a switch to turn it off.
Yeah, I guess the default is it is being socially adjusted.
Right, exactly.
You
It's
just don't
already
know it.
happening.
Right.
It's already happening.
Now, I know there's a lot of concern about the whole notion of the echo chamber, where people, even with just news that doesn't have to do with a social connection so much, people tend to seek out the social or political views that they tend to share, and it reinforces itself instead of, there's an argument about whether, the internet creates more diversity of thought or actually does the opposite. And I think this relates to that as well. in terms of the reinforcement of your own views with your circles.
Echo chamber was the word I was trying to think of when I said bubble eyes.
So as usual, Seth, the problem is not the technology, but people.
People are always the problem.
But like Facebook, your friends are not all, or the people you know, are not all of one similar kind of thought. So we also felt that there was this dual part, that yes, it was bad because you kind of become this echo chamber. But on the other hand, you'll still know people who are going to offer out ideas that are not part of, group Y. They're going to come from group X and give you a different perspective. So there is still an opportunity.
So the circles kind of produce a level of granularity of that echo chamber, so that you can, as you address different parts of your life, you can reinforce those in different ways with different people.
Our group used the current discussion about the debt ceiling and the debate. What would that look like if it were just a monologue of like? And you would be demonizing the other group, and then someone recommended, well, you could make a circle of people who don't like you, and put that out, and then maybe find out how they were feeling. So it can have advantages or disadvantages.
Good point. Okay, why don't we move to the next question about how Google Plus relates to other Google services. We've heard a little bit about the Plus One, which integrates search and Google Plus and other sorts of things. The Sparks, which we didn't really get into, which are really just like Google Alerts, saved Google searches that you can have on your page. Obviously, integrates search with Google. Other thoughts about integration or relationships with other Google products, which are all around us and some of us like or hate?
We talked about this, and one of the main things that came up was a lot of us use Google Docs, and we thought that if they could incorporate using Google Docs with it, it would be great, especially with the privacy settings you have to set for Google Docs. If people already belong to it, and you can automatically just send them documents and share things, that would be awesome, and that would be something that they offer that nobody else does. So we would really like for them to do.
You mean like being able to share a Google Doc with your circle?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And I'll bet that'll happen. Any other thoughts about integration with other Google products? Whatever.
I didn't talk about this. I just have a question.
Okay.
But it's related, don't worry. So in Google Plus, you can chat the way you would in GChat, correct? So there's that integration with that Gmail feature. And my question is, when I first started using Google Plus, I noticed that it was limited to only 12 people, and then the next day it was like 6, and then it went back to 12, and then it was always changing the order, and I want to know why.
Perhaps the fact it's not launched yet has something to do with it.
Is it just not? It's still figuring it out.
I don't think it's quite stable.
Yeah.
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 So
one thing that you brought up in our group that is relevant to this is that.
Google Apps.
Yeah, it's perfect. Right. It's perfect for this. If your organization's on Google Apps, Google Apps is not available for, or I'm sorry, Google Plus is not available for Google Apps yet. So I'm actually the administrator of our own Google Apps system at Jenkins, and I cannot turn that service on for our staff to use at Jenkins. So in order to be on Google Plus, they actually would have to be on their own personal Gmail accounts or their own personal email accounts to get that. So it isn't yet available for Google Apps customers. That doesn't mean it won't be in the future. They have a great track record of adding those services in. But as with everything, because Google Apps are more corporate, more commercial, they tend to wait a while before releasing them. And since this is so beta, I doubt it's going to happen for a while.
Yeah, it just occurred, some of these stories about people who have had their Google Plus accounts terminated because of violation of terms of service, and I think it mostly has to do with using a real name. What they've discovered is that when Google cuts you off from Google Plus for violation in terms of service, they also cut you off from all other Google services, Gmail, Google Docs, all this kind of stuff. And I'm sitting here thinking, wow, if I cross some invisible line that I'm not, if I cross some invisible line, do I then, my Gmail account goes poof, my Google Docs that I'm sharing with my business partners, that goes poof too. So that's a concern for me in terms of adopting Google Plus. I'll have to read the TOS very carefully.
The poof concern.
One thing sort of related to this that Mike was talking a lot about was the mobile options with Google Plus, and about how I think one member of our group said that until it was really integrated with her mobile devices, it wasn't going to be something that she really felt like she used all the time. So we actually, I downloaded, I have an Android phone, so it's only 2 weeks old, so I downloaded the Google Plus app while we were sitting at the table, and we looked and saw that the Spark option isn't on the Android app at the moment, and it looked like it was pretty basic and easy to use. I only have 3 people, I think, on my Google Plus right now. That's why I'm at 2. But I would be interested in exploring the mobile options, how people will be able to take the information in on their phone or iPad, Android tablet.
The only thing about losing all your other accounts if you pick the wrong name for Google Plus, I read some articles about that, and Google apparently says that doesn't happen. The reporters ended up saying, well, that in at least one case that had happened, which of course could have been somebody that violated the terms of service in a more serious way, like sending out massive spam or something like that. So I don't know. That's I assume it's not a big risk. I do know someone whose Gmail access suddenly went away because her account was hacked, but she was able to get it back.
Okay, let's. The last question listed here is about what are the losses when we really silo out our messages to only some circles, which I think in some ways is the inverse of the echo chamber business, when we actually, in our expressive context, are limiting who gets to see that. What are the implications of that? I know that Nancy's not here who asked that question, but did anyone talk about that? Does anyone have any thoughts about that?
Well, I'll just underscore something that I mentioned, which was for organizations that are sort of corporate accountability focused, when public figures or companies are able to secretly target messages to different constituencies, it'll be harder to hold them accountable than the times that companies have said things that were inarticulate at best on Facebook or Twitter or something like that. If they're able to hide those kinds of conversations, then it'll be a little more.
Right.
Okay.
I was just going to say that I think that that Google Plus actually got it right here. Facebook, it has the concept of groups and circles, but it doesn't really integrate it very well. And there are things that I want to tell certain people. Every time I want to create some kind of invitation or message to go out to a certain group, I have to invite them all individually, and it's really annoying. So I don't think that there is a siloing out except for where you deem it appropriate, and I appreciate that. I certainly thank them for that.
Any other comments? One more?
Just a thought on the accountability thing, that in a way it could be an opportunity, because companies will be a little less guarded if they think they're only speaking to a particular audience, and just someone has to get into that audience and decide.
Okay. Well, I see that it's 8:35, so I think we're going to wrap things up. There's a number of people to thank just to pull this thing off. It's all an all-volunteer effort. And I just want to recognize, as I said before, Andrew and Ivan for trying to think through the structure of the content that was going to be presented here, which really, took a lot of thinking. Steve Lubetkin managed the stream going out as well as the recording. Phil Jones is doing the scribing, and I think did some insightful stuff there, and we'll get that cleaned up and sent out to people. Michael Schweisheimer monitoring the Twitter chat, which I think was our most active Twitter chat to date, which is very nice. Mary and Helix did the greeting outside. And again, I want to thank the American Friends Service Committee and Chevy Volt for providing some sponsorship support for this. And everyone else who participated both here and in cyberspace. I think it was a very productive and engaging opportunity. So thanks to everyone.